also have with us today Alison Flynn, who's the Director of Regional Development with our Alumni, our Advancement Office. So we're going to get started just as kind of like an introduction, kind of like instructions on how this is going to go. We're just going to chat with one another. We have some topics we're going to discuss. But if you have any questions at any time for our football staff, for Edinboro, if you could just send them to us in the comments. We'll try and answer as many questions as you can today. And we'll be around all summer. If you want to reach out to us, we'd be happy to answer your questions. So the first question, we're going to go with our head coach, Jake Nulph. I think one of the biggest things people are wondering right now is we haven't had students on campus. You know, athletics have been temporarily halted because of COVID-19. How have you been managing this team? All the players are new to you, the program's new to you. How have you been managing this team through that COVID-19 pandemic?
We've been doing it collectively as a football family. You know, it's funny. I was on campus for 7 weeks, and our guys went on spring break. We were doing workouts. We were kind of building the culture at a feverish pitch. Everybody was excited, and then the pandemic hit. You know, so from that standpoint, hiring a new staff, I was able to have Coach DeMaio and Coach Tislaretz was there for a little bit, but like Coach Papley and Coach Willis were not on campus, and Coach Shannon's been with us since my start. So the pandemic hits, you know, everything gets pushed back, no spring practices, we're in the middle of recruiting, etc. Zoom has been our friend and will continue to be for the rest of the summer with everything kind of being unknown right now. We've had a lot of Zoom meetings. As a staff, we called it virtual spring ball. We started that in the end of April and went all the way through, not the end of April, the end of March, and went all the way through April with that. And in May, and then currently right now in June, we're meeting once a week. We've been having guest speakers on. We've had Trevor Harris. We've had Mike Barnes. We've had the Honorable Judge Dwayne Woodruff, and then last night we had Tunch Ilkin join us as well. So things are going well. You know, the beautiful thing about Zoom is we get an opportunity to see everybody. Now, if you can imagine 90 plus people in a Zoom with all those little boxes, but for us as a staff, it's been a great way to get to know the players, for the guys that don't know them, and for us to just be together as one family. We spend an hour. We don't go any longer than that. And we're just trying to continue to build our culture and our brand. And then from a recruiting side of things, with me getting hired a little later in January, I don't think it's hurt us at all. I think we've done a really good job. The staff has done a tremendous job in helping bring a lot of quality student athletes here to Edinboro University. We're going to have a class of over 40, anywhere between 40 and 50. And we're looking at a roster of probably between 100 and 105 Fighting Scots. So things are going well from that standpoint. We're very excited about it. And, you know, everybody's dealing with the pandemic issues. So for us, you can make excuses or you can continue to move forward and make the best of it. And that's kind of how we've done it, Chris.
Very good, Coach. And I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have this this conversation on our alumni Facebook page, because our alumni care deeply about the football program. They want to know what's happening with our student athletes, and they also want to get to know our coaches because everybody, or for the most part, we're all new here. We're all learning the system, learning the philosophy. So I think to follow up your great introduction, let's talk to some of the coordinators and coaches about their philosophy and what to expect this fall. Let's start with Coach DeMaio. Offense. Offense scores the points. You know, it's some of the most exciting things. You see big plays happening. We've had quarterbacks go on to professional football. We have a lot of fun highlights. So what are some of the things you're looking forward to? What is your offensive philosophy that you're going to bring to Edinboro?
I'm a pretty big keep it simple guy. It's not what I know. It's what our kids know and what they can bring to the game. So, we're up here in the Great White North, and so I believe we're going to have to run the ball. But as an overall philosophy, I think that I had to be a teacher and really put forth an effort to get our kids to understand our concepts and keep it simple. They have to be able to execute on the field. I'm a very, very detail-oriented coach. I think you have to be on the offensive side of the ball. So I bring that approach to our meetings and practices. But the philosophy, as a whole, is we're going to try to keep the defense, on its heels, and we're going to shift motion, do a lot of different things, and hopefully score a lot of points.
Very cool. No, I hope this didn't bring up any sort of like arguments that we can expect, but defense, a lot of people say defense wins championships. A lot of people say you can't win the ball, you can't win the game without scoring. Coach Pap, what are your thoughts? What can we expect from this defense? And is that going to be the leading force for the Fighting Scots this fall?
Well, I sure hope so, but appreciate you guys doing this event, all the alums and everybody watching. Appreciate you guys joining in. When we talk defense, and part of when I took this job was talking with Coach Nulph extensively. I got some background with him, working with him previously. He wants to play complementary football, and so the mentality is to run the football up here and control the game on the ground, and I agree with that. But when we're talking defense, it really starts with the players, and that's been an ongoing process. These virtual meetings have been tremendous to get to know the players that we have on the current roster, because there's some talented guys on this roster coming back, and we're excited about that. And we've done a pretty good job of adding some additional talent to this roster. But when you're talking schemes, coverages, fronts, and those type of things, that's part of it. The big thing for me is when people watch Edinboro football and the defense specifically is, how will they define us? And to me, that starts with the mindset. I want us to play fast, and that's line up fast, communicate quickly. When the ball snapped, then react quickly. I feel like we need to be a physical and tough-minded group. Obviously, physical at the line of scrimmage and how we play, but also our mental approach. Classroom meetings, walkthroughs. I feel like all that's connected. So mindset's big to me. And then for me is I want to be relentless. And everybody says that word. That's a really big word around. But I'm a big guy. Let's define it. And to me, relentless goes through the core of what Coach Nulph is preaching, and that's do everything to the best of your ability. And I take it one step further, and that's saying with urgency and constant passion. Because I'm a passionate guy. We have a phenomenal staff here. Coach Willis, Coach Nulph will be on the defensive side with us. And so for me, it's just developing that mindset and bringing great energy and knowledge every day to the office. And I feel like if we can do that, we'll have a good defense on there. And I'm excited to get to know the guys and get to spend some better time with them once we get the opportunity.
All right, that sounds like we're going to have some battles on the defense. Looking forward to it. Coach Tislaretz, you have two areas that you're in charge of, kind of overlooked at times, underappreciated, undervalued. The offensive line, not really a big statistical champion. You don't really see them getting a lot of the MVP awards, but they are kind of like the backbone of the offense. And also, you're involved in recruiting too. You're the recruiting coordinator, which is a title that's kind of thrown around a lot in college football. So, two-part question. Tell us a little bit about your recruiting coordinator position. What are some of the things that you do? And then get into your offensive line topics. What do you expect from the team, or what are some of your philosophies?
Yeah, so Chris, first off, happy to be here at Edinboro. It's been great so far. Coach Nulph and the rest of the staff have been awesome. But, as far as recruiting goes, anywhere you go, recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. So being the recruiting coordinator is something you really got to embrace and kind of, take, do the best you can every day, every job you have to, but that's a big one. Basically what I'm doing is, as we get into this thing, we'll be, setting up visits, game visits, official visits, working with recruits over social media, things like that, reaching out to them, which as a staff, we're all going to recruit. I'm just, here to kind of help tie everything together. And in terms of visits, paperwork, doing all that type of stuff, showing guys around campus, which I still got to get a little bit more acquainted to, but, we'll get there in time. And I think the big thing is correspondence with recruits, putting stuff on social media, trying to show guys what we have to offer here at Edinboro is going to be top notch. But guys don't know what you don't show them. So I think that's another big part of being the recruiting coordinator. Obviously this is a great place to sell, and we as a staff believe in it and are going to sell it to our guys, but at the end of the day, we just got to put all that stuff together. So that's kind of one of my roles. And then obviously my other role being the offensive line coach. I get to coach the 5 big guys up front. Every day we're going to show up. I don't, my whole philosophy, and it's kind of reflected in my career a little bit is, I'm not here for the recognition. We're going to show up every day. We're going to go to work. Something bad happens, we're going to the next play. It's a one play mentality. Show up. Physicality is obviously a huge buzzword for offensive line coaches, but I believe in it. I'm going to coach it. We're not going to play with guys that can't play physical, because again, it's going to get cold up here. And at the end of the game, towards the end of the season, when everybody's tired and it's snowing, we're going to have to lean on the 5 guys up front to get the job done and our running game, kind of what Coach DeMaio talked about. So in order to play complementary football, like we talked about too, it's gonna have to start up front. So I'm a big believer in that. So that's kind of my philosophy, offensive line wise.
All right, thank you so much for that. We're gonna go over to assistant head coach and defensive line coach Keith Willis. So 12-year career in the NFL, you played for 4 different teams, including a 9-year stint with Pennsylvania's own, the Pittsburgh Steelers. What are some of your best experiences you had in the NFL, and why have you decided to make football your passion in your life?
Well, it's 10 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's get that corrected.
10 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Let them know, Coach. Let them know.
Yeah. Hey, well, really, football didn't just come about. I really didn't play in Pop 1. I didn't do none of the high school stuff. Played 1 year in high school and managed to get a scholarship. And I'm thinking, well, once I went to Northeastern on a scholarship, I figured, well, maybe this thing can happen for me. So I went on to Northeastern University on a scholarship after playing 1 year of high school ball, and managed to make something of myself, and managed to go into the NFL as a free agent. And once getting to the NFL, that's a different breed of cat. And but I went out there a couple of days and went against some powerful guys and happened to win a couple battles against some of these guys. I'm thinking, wow, this thing can happen. All right. And so I did that whole thing with the NFL, and my career lasted for 12 years. And I went into broadcasting after my NFL career. Broadcasting, I covered the Pittsburgh Steelers for 2 years. And then all of a sudden, man, something told me I need to get into coaching. And my coaching career, I don't know if a lot of people realize this, started in the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference at Slippery Rock. And I literally told George Mahalik, for all those people that don't know, George Mahalik was the head football coach there at the time. And I always comment to him, it says, I paid to coach there at Slippery Rock, But it was a great experience, man, coaching in the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. And I knew being with that staff, that's what I wanted to do with my career is to coach. All right. That was the confirmation then after being with that staff. That was one of the top staffs that I'd been with through my entire coaching career. And I'm thankful for George Mahalik giving me that opportunity.
All right, and you also your most recent position in the NFL is you were coaching with was it the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, Tennessee Titans. Yes.
So how are you going to take your NFL career and your NFL coaching career and bring that to Edinboro? What are some of the big ideas, or what are some of the biggest motivating factors that you're going to bring here?
Well, what I discovered in coaching at all levels are pretty much the same. The one thing I discovered throughout my coaching career, college, pro, young men want to learn. All right, they want to get coached up. Even if guys that's making $14, $15 million, they want to get coached up. So I vowed to myself, never stop coaching young men. As long as they're open to receive coaching, I will coach them. All right. And the most important thing that I can give to a young man is honesty. All right, let them know exactly where they fit in the grand scheme of things. If I do that, I know I can have success in that room with defensive line.
Very good. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think those are great ideas to come from the professional level, and we're looking forward to that impact on our Fighting Scots student athletes. So on the topic of experience, we have Coach Tislaretz, who coached Youngstown State, where you were part of the 2016 national championship run. Coach Papley, you started your coaching background includes the FCS level with your experience at Duquesne. So let's talk about that kind of experience, and what are some of your biggest takeaways from those. Let's start with Coach Pap. You were also a player in the PSAC, so you're familiar with the league. You coach at the FCS level. How are you going to be able to bring that experience to Edinboro this fall?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the thing for me, like you said, I played in the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. I played at Slippery Rock. I'm a graduate there. And Coach Willis talked about Coach Mahalik. He was a guy that really encouraged me to get into coaching because I didn't know what to do either. At a college, I kind of figured it out. So to me, the experience that I had at Duquesne was tremendous. FCS football, there's a little bit of difference. It is Division I, the schedule and who you play. But the thing that always attracted me about this conference is just the tradition and pride that goes along with each university. I mean, I played at Slippery Rock, but I played at Edinboro. And every time we went to Edinboro, it was a packed house. California, IUP, all these places. There's a lot of great tradition and pride in this conference. And, as far as my experience at the FCS level, what I can bring, it's really just bringing the passion and adding to that tradition and pride. The one thing that I've always respected about Edinboro is just the community aspect. I remember coming up here and games are packed and playing here as a player, and I'm excited to be a part of that and really hopefully elevate our guys' experience here at Edinboro to be a little bit better than what we were last year. If we can do that, we're going to be in good shape. It's a constant improvement. I know Coach Tiz talked about it's a day, win every single day and constant improve. And I know that's coach talk, but that's my mentality and what I've kind of been brought up on. And so I'm excited about being here in this conference because I'm a Western PA guy. And there's a lot of similarities between, the different levels because we recruit all the same guys, especially Youngstown, Duquesne, like we were. A lot of familiarity, which I'm excited to be a part of still and keep growing this thing. Tiz, hopefully you can add something on there too, because Coach Tiz and I competed against each other, man. I coached against him 3-4 times, and so there's already been some nice jabs. And the nice thing is he's telling me what they saw on offense. I'm telling him what we saw from a defensive perspective where he was at. So it's been fun.
Yeah, Coach Tiz, talk about your experience and talk about how you used to take down Coach Pap's team all the time.
It's true. Listen, haven't beat him. He's undefeated against him.
Yes, please tell him, Tiz.
No, we had some good battles. Obviously my guys got to go against Coach Pap's guys a good bit. So like he said, we've had some good conversations about all that. But, being at Youngstown State was a great experience for me. I got to come up under some good coaches, guys that are all over the country. The guy that I worked for is with the New England Patriots now. Our old head coach is at LSU. So there's guys all over the country and that I've been fortunate to have an opportunity to work and learn under. The big thing that I would say that I'm kind of adjusting to right now is it's not much different being here. People ask me, oh, you were Division I and all this stuff, but there's really not much difference, and which is awesome. Obviously I haven't been a part of this conference before, but, I've met a lot of coaches on the road recruiting, talked to a lot of coaches about this conference and kind of kept an eye on it because we've had some guys that I've known along the way that have played in this conference. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited, to see what we can do on the field and, coach these guys up and hopefully they, have a good experience, just, like kind of what Coach Pap was saying. So.
Let me jump in here real quick, Chris,
Absolutely.
and kind of talk about these guys so everybody knows. I've known everybody that's on the staff and I have a relationship, and some go further back than others. But like, if you look at Coach DeMaio and I, we played together in college at Robert Morris. We coached together at Robert Morris, and then we shared an office at Westminster. So, we have that connection and that relationship. We believe in the same things. For the coaching staff, we all have to have one voice, and we all have one goal, and we're all driven towards the same thing. And if you take a look at Coach Papley and I's relationship, we met when I would go help out at Duquesne's summer camps, and then I had an opportunity to coach with him for a year. We shared an office together and became very close. And, of course, I'm going to reach out to Coach Papley when I have an opportunity like this because, again, he believes in the same foundations that I do. I met Coach Tiz at Youngstown State in summer camps, and we developed a relationship, and we know a lot of the same people. And he comes highly recommended from the coach that he was speaking about from the New England Patriots that I knew at Duquesne. And then I met Coach Willis through a mutual friend of ours, Mike Miller. And I grew up watching Coach Willis play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So when you have an opportunity to call and speak to a guy with Coach Willis's pedigree and background, and then you get to know him, and through those conversations, you find out that you believe in the same exact things together, it just makes sense. And then with Coach Shannon, when I got hired, and even when I come up to interview, we just kind of struck it and we hit a chord. Like, we had conversations. He made it a point to come up to me after I interviewed, and we had a conversation. When I got to Edinboro and had an opportunity to observe him, how he interacted with the players, what he believes in, his core, we're all in this together. And that's the cool thing that I don't think that maybe the general public or our alumni understand is us as a coaching staff. Yeah, we work together, but we're going to be very, very close. And we already are. It's a situation where our families are going to hang out. We're friends. We're not just colleagues. And I think that might separate us from a lot of people because, yeah, there's jobs and guys go to work every day and, they hang out at work, but there's nothing after work. Our families are going to be close. That's the environment I want at Edinboro. I have 2 young children. They're going to be around the program. Coach DeMaio has 2 young kids. They're going to be around the program. Coach Tiz, his wife is expecting a son at the end of July. He better be around the program, and he knows that. Coach Papley's wife's expecting a child in October, which Coach Papley didn't plan it very well because him having a child during football season is crazy. But luckily for him, Coach DeMaio's had that experience in October having his daughter. So there's some similarities there. Coach Willis has 2 kids and has raised them, and he can we're going to lean on him a lot for advice because he's going through the same things that we have. And, and Coach Shannon wants a family. That's something that he's expressed to me. He wants to be where we're at. So that's kind of a snapshot of our staff. That's what we're bringing to the table at Edinboro. And as you can tell, we're all very excited and passionate about it.
And I think that means Coach Pap, doesn't that mean you have to name your child Sox Harrison after our stadium?
I think so. There's a lot of good alums up there though. So I gotta pick I gotta pick who it is. Yeah, you gotta listen, I don't know. There's a lot of really good defensive players. So if we have a boy, maybe we go Chris or Ben, because there's some of these guys that have some really good careers up there at Edinboro. But just a couple off of Coach Nulph, and I agree with so much. We're so close, and I think it's so important when we're speaking the same voice. And part of my excitement about it is, now we incorporate the players into it. We're all speaking the same thing. We really show that we get along as a staff. Then we encourage the players to do the same. And that just hopefully continues to develop. Again, I go back to the pride and tradition of a program and continue to elevate that level as far as where we're at. Because listen, this is a great program. And so it was part of the intrigue for me was joining a family and a community that I haven't had a chance to meet everybody yet, but I'm excited to. And we're looking forward to having this. This is a great staff, and I'm excited about it. So
yeah, and I can personally attest to this. I know we're doing this live on Facebook. We want to have an introduction, but I'll tell you what. I'll be honest. Like, we were in a planning meeting on Zoom talking about this meeting and how we're going to talk about it. It was almost like hanging out with my friends. Everyone's doing these nice little jabs at one another, having joking around. We were down to business, but it was like working with your buddies, and I think that's going to have a great impact on our student athletes. Let's hear from some of the.
Well, Chris, let me add something to what we all are doing. This staff, man, what's important about this whole thing is, you got a group of guys here who are excited about this opportunity, right? But the opportunity is this, an opportunity to build a program, not in 2, 3, 4 years. We're talking about building a program right now. We're looking at, getting guys geeked up, man, right? Getting their minds right so that when we step on the field, and I spoke about this when Coach Nulph introduced us in our first meeting. I asked the guys, do they all know Rodney Dangerfield? Right? Guys looked at me like I had something on my forehead. But Rodney Dangerfield always talked about that no respect. Okay, that isn't gonna happen under our watch. Okay, and we're not trying to be cocky. This has to be the norm with this program. That we're building young men, not just on the football field, but off the football field. But on the football field, when these cats step out there, all right, it's not a Rodney Dangerfield effect. Folks will know. That's what it's about. That's the excitement, the draw, all right, with us. Even though we're meeting via this Zoom, which, it drives me absolutely insane. In fact, look at my hair, man. Look, I'm growing hair because.
I hear you. I'm the same way.
Yeah, but that's the excitement and the challenge of this whole deal is getting these guys geeked up that they're excited about playing the game of football, okay, and going out into the community of Edinboro and representing. All right, we don't want dudes to across the line from us to look at us and disrespect us because they know that, all right, yeah, that's a team we can beat. That doesn't happen. That's the great thing about this staff. I'm excited to be a part of this, man. We're, as Pap says, that sounds like coach talk, and it's yet to be proven. All right, that is the challenge for us to see if we can get guys geeked up, okay, to represent this program every Saturday or Friday, whenever we play, that the team across from us know that they're in for a fight. That's all. Hey, that's the only thing we can offer them. We're gonna put a team out there that's gonna fight. That's the excitement of this whole deal. All right. So let me get off and let somebody else have that.
Yeah, that's actually a good transition because we're talking about not just developing football players, but athletes who are going to make their impact on the world. Let's go over to Coach Benny, Shanin Bennefield, who's our community service coordinator and also works with wide receivers. So you played football at West Virginia State University, which is an HBCU, which is a historically Black college and university. Talk about your experience there, how that helped develop you as an adult, and what experiences you're going to take from there to here at Edinboro.
Building relationships was the biggest thing for me in undergrad. I was a first generation graduate for my family. So when I stepped on campus, I already had an end goal, and that end goal was to finish what I started. And I knew the only way I was going to do that was to develop relationships with the right people. And I did that through coaching staffs. I actually went through a coaching change my sophomore year. We actually had a whole new staff come in and, kind of similar situation now. I had opportunities and I could have been like the rest of the crowd and went and seeked out other things. But, I stayed true to who I am, and that's loyalty. And that was developed through, being at state with people in the academic offices, people in, admissions, and just counselors, mentors. So, I stuck around and it ended up being the best thing that could have happened to me. And, if you don't know, West Virginia State is really small, probably same amount, if not smaller students than Edinboro. A lot of commuters. It's in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia. And it's right between West Virginia, the big university, and Marshall. And not everybody knows where state is, but we made our mark by just playing ball and making, a name for yourself. It developed me as a man through trial and error. So it was good. It was a really good experience, and I finished in 4 years, and it helped mold me into who I am today.
Awesome, very cool. And we're looking forward to having you on the staff here. Let's go over to Gary Hanna, our athletic trainer. talk a little bit about how we have been working with our student athletes during the summer and during the quarantine period. How are we keeping student athletes, in shape, healthy, active, and preventing injuries? And what are some of the things that you've been doing throughout the last couple months?
Well, we've been kind of limited to quote unquote telehealth, which has been, we've been in contact with those kids. We've had continuing rehab programs with people we know have had injury situations, etc. So we're trying to keep track of people that way. And our efforts right now are aimed at making sure that we're prepared to have our kids back on campus safely, and the steps that we have to take to make sure that we're mitigating as much risk as humanly possible as far as the COVID-19 situation goes. Hopefully there's going to be an announcement in the next day or two about when we'll be returning back to campus for classes. And once we have those dates established, we can start putting actual dates and times on when we can get our athletes back.
Very good. And what are some of the things that you work with athletes on after they've taken like a period of not being active? What are some of the things that you're going to try and work with them the most once they get back on the field and get back in the swing of things?
Well, the NCAA is recommending a 6-week acclimatization period, which is I understand, but our athletes have been working out. I mean, they're coming back to us not just flat, which is great. What we have to do then is take them and fine tune them and bring them back in, as far as conditioning and strength wise, and then, start learning some skill things. But there is a transition period. Anybody who's coming back to a situation like this of athletics at the level that we play, it's going to take a transition time, and we will have that built into our camp schedule when they come back.
All right. Very interesting. We're looking forward to having our Fighting Scots back on campus, and working out. And Saturday with football on campus is just a beautiful thing to have in Edinboro. We're really looking forward to it.
Gary, they better have been working out. Is all we're saying.
You're keeping track of them. So let's go over to Alison Flynn from our alumni office. If you could just give us an overview of how does the Alumni and Advancement Office, what are some of the things that you do to stay connected with the football team, with athletics, to kind of support one another and to promote Edinboro's mission?
Well, exactly like what we're doing right now. We're ramping up some virtual events. We're getting the coaches in contact with a lot of alumni that could, be speakers for the football team during their Zoom conferences. We also host several events in the fall, but who knows how we're going to be hosting them at this time. I think just engaging online and on social media as much as we can right now. I'm going to ask Coach Nulph, what are some ways the alumni can support the football team right now?
There's two things currently going on right now for us from an alumni standpoint. One is kind of a secret project I'm working on that I'd like to kind of keep it under wraps. Anybody that wants to know how they can get involved in this secret project that we've been working on for the last couple of weeks, shoot me an email, give me a call. There's been a lot of communication throughout decades of how you can support that project, whether it be from the 60s all the way to the 2010s, businesses. Currently trying to get in touch with the guys from the 1950s. So, and that is something that we're trying to do, and we're trying to move very quickly on it so that it would be ready for the fall. The other thing is, being the pandemic and Erie County still being in yellow, we're planning on having a golf outing, but we're doing that with support of our parents group. So our parents group is putting on a golf outing for us, and that is going to be on Saturday, July 25th at the course in Edinboro. Again, we're going to have some publication for that moving out very quickly. Coach Papley and I and the rest of the staff have been working on that. We're hoping that that's kind of the first big meet and greet for everybody as far as face-to-face. Obviously, we'll still follow regulations. The 6 feet, the max, the whole deal, we'll comply. But having the parents group, Allison, has really helped us from that standpoint because of the situation given with the pandemic. We have a great parents group at Edinboro. They all, everything's always for the benefit of the student athlete, and they really understand that. We have a lot of support there. And then through the alumni, this project that we're working on, the alumni have been awesome. And I report back to the staff every time we meet and just talk to them about the conversations that we're having. That's why I took the job at Edinboro, guys, to be honest. I got on campus and absolutely fell in love with the people. And it seemed like everybody I talked to was an Edinboro football alumnus. And then getting the opportunity to speak and hear everybody's stories and how special of a place Edinboro is, that's what we're trying to bring back by doing all of these things, because our message to the kids in the program is really simple. We have our foundation, we have our culture, but one of the things I tell the kids is love the program, buy stock in it, because the alumni have bought stock and they own it. So we got to get our guys to buy in and know that whenever they leave, and I just happen to wear the number 36, so I'll use this, but whoever's wearing the number 36, they have complete stock in that, in the number, in the program moving forward. So that kind of creates the relationships and for the bonds. And that's why I think it's important that we've had our alumni come back and speak, like Trevor Harris, like Mike Barnes, to our kids, to let them know that's the message that we're trying to bring back to Edinboro football. We want guys involved. I want alumni involved. I want them back. This program is just as much theirs as it is ours currently, and the rest of the staff feels the same way.
That's a great introduction to one of the questions we had coming in on Facebook. First off, before we get any further, we did post Coach Nulph's email address in the alumni page comment section. So if you need to shoot him an email, if you have any ideas, it's jmnulph@edinboro.edu. The question that came in on Facebook is kind of related to what you were saying about the alumni, about the community. There's a lot of changes being made with the Edinboro football team. Our coaches are new. It's a new system. We just talked about bringing in a new philosophy to the program. What are some ways that, as the coaches, as the alumni association, as the alumni office, what are some ways that we're going to be building that trust and building that relationship with the community, with the alumni?
I think that obviously first things first with our guys is we got to make sure we put a product out there that they're proud of. Those are things that we can control as a staff. Secondly, too, is, I've been trying to get involved with as much alumni and making phone calls, et cetera, as I can. If anybody wants to talk, give me a call, and I'll even throw my cell phone number out here. It's 724-600-4624. Call me. I'm available. I'd love to hear your experiences, and so would our staff. Again, it's an open door. Whenever we get back on campus, everybody has more than free reign to come in and say hi and share their stories with us. Now, when we get in the season and we're busy, that's going to be a challenge, and I'm sure as football alumni, they'll understand that. But we're here, we're available, we're new. We've got a ton of energy. We've got a lot of great ideas. The great thing, and part of the recruiting and talking to the young men and getting them to buy into what we're trying to build at Edinboro, is it's not like we're inheriting an 0-11 football team. If you take a look at a 4-year snapshot of Edinboro football, it was 9-2, 7-4, 6-5, 3-8. It's a proud program that's had a lot of success. For whatever way, it's lost its kind of where it was going, and it's our job to put it back on track and get it heading in the right direction again. So, and Allison, you can jump in and kind of talk about ways as far as from your office.
From our office, I can honestly say that Jake and the rest of the coaching staff have been so passionate and so wanting to be involved. Anytime I've reached out to them, like for this exact event, they're like, yes, let's do it. Yes, we want to do more. Anything we can do. And they bring their experience from their other universities that they coached at, and brought ideas to us for reunions or events or ways that we can improve and engage with alumni, which I think has been really valuable too. They're just like the best group. I don't know. They're just a great group of guys with tons of passion.
Allison, is that an inversion table behind you?
Yes.
That would look tremendous in the football office. Just
Yeah, we could take that.
I have I used to be a competitive weightlifter and I fractured my vertebra. So I use it from time to time. There's also a treadmill
there you go.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a couple of dogs.
There you go.
Yes.
We always love dogs. There's not enough dogs on social media.
There we
That's
go.
not a little dog now.
Yeah, this is my new puppy, Lucy. She's about 50 pounds and she's only 5 months old. So
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. she's a big dog.
Yep.
We got to get the tartan scarf, just like you.
Yeah.
Yep. Bookstore, J. Crew.
There we go.
Hey, Chris, if you don't mind me jumping in, I know that we were just talking about the alumni, and part of your question was the trust. And just to kind of couple off of what Coach Nulph has already said is, this is a family deal. Football teams are families, and trust takes time. It's what we've been talking with our players the whole time we've started since March. And, because I haven't met really anybody, handful of guys here and there when I first started. And then obviously with everything happened, haven't had to meet the whole team. But trust takes time. And the one thing I love about this, and a part of why I really wanted to get on board with this staff and this program, is that come around and get to know us and get to know what we're all about. And I promise you, all the alumni and former players out there, you're going to really be excited about what this place is, because, I have tremendous pride and passion for where I've been, the couple stops that I've been at as a player and then as a coach. Love those programs, want to see them succeed. So we want that same feeling here, and the encouragement. And I know Coach Nulph has hit it a couple times already. Come see us, man. We want you guys to be back. We want you guys to spend time with us, because our passion will rub off. I mean, that's the one thing that I've always done and thought was impactful was come spend time with us, man. We got a lot of passion, and that stuff will rub off on you guys, and we're excited about it.
I think the more that you guys engage with alumni, you'll see how much they bleed Plaid, how much they love the borough. It's a true, amazing group of alumni. Every time I've engaged with them, from reunion groups, like last year, we had a great reunion for the 98 PSAC team, the champions. And those guys like Mike Kegerice and Mike Barnes, Harlan Ware, just outstanding men. And they want to give back to the university however they can. So you'll just love. The more you meet our alumni, the more you're really going to love engaging with them.
Yeah, definitely. And I've attended a couple homecomings, and it's just full of people wearing their old football jerseys, or they have group shirts that say class of the 70s. It's definitely a good time. And it's our football alumni are great people, and it's a great atmosphere. So on the other side of the football spectrum, we have the alumni, we have the community, but we also had incoming recruits. And one of the questions that came across on Facebook is that we do have a big network of alumni in the Pittsburgh, Western New York, and Ohio area. What are some plans, whether we're recruiting or either on the alumni network? What are some ways that we are taking advantage of those areas or building relationships? Let's go to Coach Tislaretz. What are we doing with recruiting and kind of developing those areas?
Yeah, so Chris, obviously me being in Ohio the last 6 years, I've kind of mended some relationships out there with high school coaches, with players. And so Ohio is going to be a big part of our base. I know you also mentioned Pittsburgh. Most of us are Western Pennsylvania guys, so we've all recruited in one way, shape, or form, Western Pennsylvania or some part of Pennsylvania. I've recruited the entire state of Pennsylvania, actually, over the last couple of years. I've been all the way to Philadelphia, which was huge for us. And, but there's been a lot of relationships on this staff in different areas. We'll have somebody in Western New York. We're gonna be all over the place. We're open to recruits. I mean, we definitely are always looking and looking for guys that fit what we want this place to be, not only on the field but in the classroom as well. And our key areas obviously are going to be, and we'll talk about this a lot, is Pittsburgh, so Western Pennsylvania, the whole state of Pennsylvania, Cleveland, and Northeast Ohio, and then also Buffalo and Western New York are going to be big for us here. So.
And how about on the alumni side? What are some ways that that we're developing our relationships in those areas? talking Buffalo.
Well, it's funny, when we had some really great ideas and we were going to do like a summer tour, we were going to just try to get people involved in those areas. We were going to try to do something in Buffalo, Erie, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh as a meet and greet. Well, with the pandemic and everything getting shut down, it's kind of made us think outside of the box. And with Allison and Amanda, this was their idea. Like, I know that we can't go out face to face and network, but let's do something where we can at least get you to the broader audience and you get an opportunity to kind of meet and greet that way. So hopefully whatever the new normal looks like, and, whether it's soon or sometime down the road, I want to get into all of these different areas and meet everybody. And, like Coach Pap said, to reiterate that, like, we just want to spend time with everybody. That's the type of people that we are. I always tell our players, I'm looking for lightning rods. I don't like energy vampires. We've all been around those energy vampires. I can tell you this, there's not an energy vampire on our staff. We'll be very cordial. We like to communicate. It's our strength. And that'll carry over to our players and hopefully our alumni. But yeah, we have, and this is obviously through Allison, and I'll pass it on to her, but we've been planning some of those meet and greets throughout that we're in a great situation at Edinboro that you take Buffalo, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh and run to 2 hours of all of them. So why wouldn't we go into those areas and meet everybody?
Yeah, very good. We have funnels from all over the state, all over the country that come to Edinboro. So it's going to be exciting once we can get out there and start meeting people and building this program. And just from conversation I've had with everybody here, it looks like the program's in some really good hands, very passionate coaches. And I think that's going to really reflect with our student athletes. So we have about 10 more minutes left in this live stream. I think it might be time to switch up to some more lighthearted questions. So the first question actually came in from one of our football fans, who is part of our marching band. So their theme this year for the marching band is 80s rock. What do we have any requests from the coaching staff of what songs the marching band should perform during that? 80s rock. Let's hear it. What are some songs we need to start playing?
I think everybody's going to jump in on this one, Chris. So I'll start. And if we do some Eddie Money, Take Me Home Tonight, I'm good.
80s rock.
Yeah, and I think you said jump right in. I think a little Van Halen jump might work for that as well.
If you play Jump by Van Halen, my son, JJ, will be out on the field dancing to that and playing the air guitar. I've already taught it to him. He's in.
I mean, that sounds great. Diane Smith, she's our marching band director. I hope you're taking note of that. So we need to start playing at least that opening riff of Jump so we can get everybody out of their seats. Any other suggestions for songs we need to play? It looks like you're gonna explode. You have an idea.
Obviously, Crazy Train. All right. Eye of the Tiger, obviously, from Survivor. That's obviously a given.
Pump the brakes.
Welcome to the Jungle. You got to go Welcome to the Jungle.
If we don't get Journey with Don't Stop Believing at some point in the third quarter, that's got to be in there. Come on.
I knew that.
Back in Black, AC/DC. I mean, you can go for days.
I for some reason I knew Don't Stop Believing was gonna make an entrance here.
You gotta get some Journey in there. Yeah.
How about like a nice ballad like To Be With You by Mr. Big?
Not
down a little bit. No, all right, fine.
We're at a football game. We're not trying to put people to sleep.
Every time they hit a tambourine, you hear a drum. Somebody need to be out their seat. So just make sure whatever they play. All right, no one's sitting down. Okay.
Exactly. Now, we're looking forward to the marching band. In my office where I am, I can hear the marching band practice every Friday before the games, and it just takes you to a new level. So we appreciate everybody in the marching band for contributing and just enhancing that atmosphere.
We'll be big fans. There's no question.
Listen, Chris, one of my favorite parts about high school football games when we go on Fridays, hearing that band ripping, man. My previous place I was at, we had a pep band. We didn't have a marching band. So I'm sure as heck excited for those guys to get out there and make noise and be excited. So that's a big part of it, man.
I still get goosebumps when I hear the marching band practicing before games. Yeah. It's just
when the bagpipes play though. That's super fun.
Oh.
That's so much. People get super pumped up.
One one of the cool things Trevor Harris was talking about was a tradition they did after games was they played the Scotland the Brave and they all sing in the locker rooms. And, alumni out there, you got any traditions like that, please, we want to bring that stuff back, man. If you got anything like that, we'll love to be able to get incorporated somehow.
Very good. So we have some more important questions to ask. Coach Nulph, in a recent podcast, I think it was with the Bayfront boys, you mentioned that you're a big fan of the one and only Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Where did that start, and what is that all about? If you could also give us your best people's eyebrow as well.
First off, Chris, you need to know your role and shut your mouth if you want to hear what The Rock has to say. It started in
smell what he's cooking. I
WWE.
smell what The Rock's cooking, okay?
I grew up a pro wrestling fan. I was born in the 80s. It's funny. My first memory as a kid was WrestleMania 2 with Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy in the steel cage match. True story. So I grew up in the 80s and then the Attitude Era of the 90s and everything going on. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan. Again, I grew up in the 80s when it was the U. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson played at the U. I remember him from those teams. And when he got into the WWE, he was a bad guy heel later in his career. And I was probably one of the only people that liked him in that character. And it's just stuck ever since. I was telling the guys on the podcast that in 1998, the King of the Ring, I was fortunate enough to be sitting 2 rows from the ring right along the rail where the wrestlers come out. I don't know if I'll ever get those tickets again, but I'm on pay-per-view like every 5 minutes. So if anybody wants to go back and watch that, it's funny. But The Rock was wrestling. He fought twice that night. And as he was making his entrance down to the ring, I'm hanging over the railing, telling him that he's number one and he's the man. And he turned to me and told me to shut up. And all my boys were clowning and, they thought it was funny. But, that's where my passion for him and being a fan, and then obviously for what he's doing now in the movies. He's the most entertaining man in Hollywood and in sports entertainment. So
I think
long story short, that's where that came from.
You kind of gave away your love of wrestling with that giant wrestling belt behind you. Is that something you won, or is that something you bought to try and look cool?
No, that's an actual. I have 2 of them. So that's the Winged Eagle. That's autographed by Hulk Hogan himself. I have 2 made title belts up there. One from our title run at Duquesne in 2018. And then one for my brother-in-law. He asked me to be the best man in his wedding. And of course, his gift to me was a title belt, which is awesome. It says the people's best man on it. Another throwback to The Rock. And then I have the official autographed NWO belt here as well. So, I'm a fan. What can I say?
I think what that means is that somebody that's paying attention now to this live stream is watching it. They have to connect us with a way we can get a tartan plaid wrestling belt so that we can lift that above our heads when we beat our rivals.
Yes,
I've already thought of that. I'm working
turnover
on
belt or whatever it is. I'm all for it.
Yes,
I mean, I can totally see Coach Nulph coming out on the field wearing a kilt, holding that wrestling belt above his head, kind of like a scene out of Braveheart. It's like Hulk Hogan mixed with Braveheart.
Have his face painted blue.
I think it needs to happen.
Don't give me any ideas, guys.
So speaking of pop culture, there's one member of the coaching staff that's a big Star Wars fan. Coach DeMaio, what Jedi or what member, hopefully it's a Jedi and hopefully it's not from the dark side, what member of the Star Wars cast has the most influence on your life? And are you a dark side or are you more with the Jedis?
Well, see, like the dark side has all the toys.
You got them going now. You got them going.
I hope everybody has a half hour left in their day to watch this.
They got all the toys. They got the big ships. They got all the guns, all the everything, and the light side. The rebels. They got the hope and they got the teamwork. So that's the way I kind of see it. And the light side is obviously the reason why they win is because they're a team. And I don't know, Jedi, one particular Jedi, there really hasn't. I mean, Han Solo, obviously the rebel, he's the greatest.
He's not a Jedi though.
Okay. I mean, all those guys are great. I mean, I could talk for years about this, but I'll kind of leave it at that. But definitely a light side guy.
Very cool.
Man, you
So
perked
let's
up,
see.
man, when you said that, dude. You all right? Gee, they have medication for that problem.
I don't want it.
So we talked a little bit earlier about the rivalries. Coach Pap, we won't hold it against you, but you're a Slippery Rock graduate. Is that a game that you're kind of looking forward to when we hit the field against them?
I mean, I'd be lying to you if I didn't think so. Definitely one I'm looking forward to. It just happens to be this year too, a homecoming game for Slippery Rock. So I'm going to make the homecoming trek back there. Listen, the Slippery Rock program, I actually grew up in Slippery Rock. So that's where I grew up, born and raised. Phenomenal pride and tradition for that town and that program. But Coach Lutz, who's the head coach there now, big mentor of mine, helped me get into coaching. I owe him and Coach Mahalik a ton. But when I took the job, one of the first people that called me was Coach Lutz. And we discussed, and he's like, "Look, I'm happy for you. I'm going to cheer you on every single game except when we play." And I said, "Look, I'm the same way. I'm going to cheer you guys on. You beat everybody else, but when we come, I'm not coming there just to be the mentee. I'm coming in to take the storm." So it'll be fun. Listen, it's all about our players. Hopefully we can get them geeked up to go down there because everybody knows Slippery Rock's tradition over the last couple of years has been pretty strong. So that'll be fun. Maybe I'm wearing the kilt and the face paint that game. I don't know.
Hey, we'll make sure we get plenty of belts so everybody can get one.
Yeah, right.
So Coach Nulph, do you have similar feelings about IUP?
Yeah, the thing with IUP was always an interesting situation because of where I currently live and where I grew up was 20 minutes from Indiana. So kind of like Coach Pap. And, coming up with all those great teams that IUP had in the 90s and what a great tradition and program they have. I decided to leave Duquesne and head to IUP last year. And that was more for my family with the two young ones and to get closer to home from my commute. But I talk to Coach Tortorella all the time, just like Coach Pap talks to Coach Lutz, just like Coach Willis talks to Coach Lutz and Coach Mahalik. Same thing. And it's funny that Coach Papley said that was the conversation with Coach Lutz because Coach Tort and I and the rest of the staff were cheering for each other. But I can tell you this, when Sunday hits for that week, we're not going to communicate and we'll be cool. And then, after the game, everything will go back to normal. But we're competitive guys. And that one is something that, you circle on the calendar and, guys being guys and football players being football players, our competitive nature, they want to beat me just as bad as I want to beat them. And if they didn't feel that way, then I probably wouldn't be as close with them as I am. And I'm sure Coach Papley could probably say the same thing about Slippery Rock.
There's no question. The fun thing is I've actually worked with another PSAC head coach, Coach Gary Dunn down at Cal. We're not going to leave the Vulcans out of it either. So the fun thing is this profession is so connected. Every team in this conference, we recruit similar guys and see each other on the road. And that's the one thing I love about the profession and the conference. A lot of really great people around. And, listen, this is a competition sport. We're not in here for participation trophies. So you bet your bottom dollar when it comes to Saturday, we're competing our tails off. And that's what we got to get our players to do, which I know watching them on film from last year, we got a competitive group and we got other guys coming in. So it'll be fun, man. Saturdays will be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And as you notice, you're watching this live session, and we have a very interesting, exciting group of coaches. So that we can only hope that it's going to reflect on our Fighting Scots as well. Just a couple more questions. I know Coach Willis has experience in the NFL, but Coach Benny, a lot of people say you look like an NFL Hall of Fame receiver. Can you, personally, I get that I look like Brian Hoyer, who's going to be the next great quarterback in New England, I think. And then Coach Benny, show yourself. Who do you look like in the NFL?
Well, he's no longer in the NFL, but I got a lot of comparisons to Michael Irvin.
Hall of Famer Michael Irvin. Now, is he a personal hero of yours, or is he just someone that you think you look like?
Nah, I think it's just because we both got the same box head, so they just called me Michael Irvin when I was playing in high school.
Did they call you playmaker, Shannon?
Only when I score touchdowns.
Not a bad nickname though.
That's not a bad nickname. All right. So the last thing before we wrap up today, we're just about at the hour mark. The last thing, Coach, anybody, if you want to talk about how we can stay connected with alumni in the community, ways to follow us on social media, how to get feedback, how to answer questions. So if you could just give our audience some opportunities to connect with you guys.
Well, I know that thank you for putting my email address into the conversation, and I've given my cell phone number out already, and I'll do that again. It's 724-600-4624. At Coach Nulph is my Twitter handle. Social media, emails, any form of communication. Don't be afraid to reach out to us. We're doing our best given the situation that we're dealing with on trying to just continue to reconnect and touch base with all the alumni. But, our door's always open. I mentioned that when Coach Papley talks, he'll give you, because he's in charge of our social media, so he can kind of tell you where to follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But we appreciate everything, obviously.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, all our social medias, Chris, they're all Edinboro FB. So on Twitter, Instagram, and then Facebook's the Edinboro Fighting Scots. And if you direct message any of those, it'll get to us. My email's on there. I know everybody else is the same thing. We're typically and your last name is the Twitter. But listen, the only thing I have is please reach out. Let's stay connected. Let's continue to build this thing. Just reading through the comments on Facebook, a lot of excited people, man. So anything we can do to help.
It's going to be a great time. So we wanted to tell everybody, thank you for joining us today. We did get a comment that we expect all the coaches to make Scotland the Brave your ringtones on your phones. So we will make sure we give everybody feedback, and we show you when we make that happen. And when that'll be probably around the same time Coach Nulph is going to be wearing the kilt and holding up the wrestling belt. So Coach Nulph, Coach DeMaio, Coach Papley, Coach Tislaretz, Coach Willis, Coach Benny, Alison Flynn, Gary Hanna, our trainer. On behalf of everybody, thank you for joining us, and follow us on social media, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody, for tuning in.